grateful. Okay, so our lesson plan today is Start in the Heart. And President Gilbert did an incredible job talking about one of the significant differences here on campus at BYU-Idaho and in the online program. And it is a matter of heart. I was joking with my boss here on campus, and I said, Sheldon, after doing the I Learn Free training over the Christmas holiday, our department, we call it modeled it or whatever. Piloted. So you're going to have to help me out. Thank you. And started in January, and I spent probably 35 to 40 hours over the Christmas break. And I know many of you probably did as well. Now, that being the case, I am in love with I Learn Free, and it was well worth it. But I told Sheldon, I think my hourly wage for the accounting majors in here, I'm not even calculating this. But when Aubrey first got me into teaching, I have to tell you that I was so excited about giving back, and you'll find out why as we continue to talk today, that I forgot I got paid for it. And literally. And I looked in my checking account and there was a check. What? I'm getting paid for this. I'm the luckiest person on earth to get to do what I love and to get paid for it at the same time. But the money is the least of all the benefits.
I just want to put a quick plug in for my mom. You can curl it if you want to, but I learned literacy from this woman.
I love education, and I love learning because I saw my mom suffer and struggle for it. We are the first women in our male line, first women in our line to get college degrees and to take education to this level. And I'm so grateful for everything that learning and change has done in my life and that I've seen in my mother's. So the invitation for change that we're inviting, you may be a great instructor already, but just look for more. Look for something that you can do that will help you to connect further with your students.
I want to point out a quick thing. President Gilbert did a brown bag launch this last week, and I was there listening to some of the advice he gave, and I wrote 3 take-homes. Every time I wrote a brown bag, 3 take-homes. What can I do to improve as a teacher? And one of them was he tends to, he goes this way. Okay, his blind spot is the right side of the classroom. So he's actually done studies, and he is a left side of the classroom man. But when he said that, I realized, oh my heavens, I'm on the right side of the classroom woman. I'm over here. And so I tried it this week, just going across, and it felt quite uncomfortable actually, coming over here, but the participation from this side of the room really increased. So that's just, I know that doesn't apply so much online positions, but the take-home does. Something that you can implement. And Aubrey actually put together a survey, and we'll be talking about that in just a minute. But the results that came back from you, I want you to know you are helping me to be a better instructor. I read things that you suggested here. We'll have a summary at the end. You'll have a list. Thank you. Thank you.
She was really
excited to implement some of these things. This is fantastic stuff.
She called and was like, the online instructors are amazing.
I want to teach online.
She was like, yeah,
it was exciting, your feedback. You'll see that in the survey results. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is how we can start in the heart, and President Gilbert talked about that. And we found this, and you've probably seen this in LDS Living magazine and so forth, but what stands out to you? What's a common denominator in this advertisement for online instructors? What do you see? There's something that's there more than once. Real? Thank you. Yeah, just shout out your answers. Real. Well, real people, real lives. I'm sorry, what was your name? Denise. Denise. Like Denise Austin. Right there. Right there. Okay. We're not in good shape.
I will remember that.
Let's have our illusions. We're good. So real, making a real difference. And that's our very first point. Is as we start in the heart, we're going to talk about building a student and not just a skill set. I want to tell you that in my classroom, the times where I find myself lacking and not connecting with my students, I teach English, and we get into rhetoric and grammar and all of that fun stuff, and I do love it with a passion. But when I get caught up in my content, and I forget that it is completely about the student, I know that that's what's missing. I need to take a step back I need to pray about them by name. I need to get completely about the students. The content will come, and the students will get that, especially if they know they care. Okay, as they know we care. So we're going to cover 3 things. Picture imperfect. The first one, be human, be vulnerable, and make personal connections, make real connections. I love that real. Point out the positive. You can do that through spotlight, suggestion for improvement. Now, when Aubrey looked at this slide, she said, Mom, no, she's English too, by the way. Didn't you mean suggestions? And I said, no, I meant suggestion. So many of us have received feedback that feels like a barrage of negativity. And there's a quote in here that we'll take a look at how that can feel. I give my students 1 thing per paper. We do a paper every single week for 13 weeks. The last 4 weeks is a 8 to 10 page research paper. And they have, most of my students have just died under a barrage of criticism. And so they come in the classroom already expecting to fail. One of my students this semester, and I turned to him and I said, Brady, you should know better. Because he said to me, isn't that what teachers do? They just point out everything you do wrong. And I said, you should know better, because he knows my philosophy on that. Because that's not what teachers do. So suggestion for improvement. Keep failure in perspective and address failure directly. Because failure is a part of life. And with my students, it's okay. If you need to fail right now, it's okay. But fail forward. Fail forward. Because we can learn from every failure. Okay. Brene Brown, my best friend I've never met.
If you have to fangirl or I don't know if you can go next, but if you have to over someone, then Brene Brown would definitely be the person.
Yeah. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. And we're going to take a look at some of those things. One of my first assignments in my classroom, and this could apply in an online environment, it's entitled Where I'm From. And I asked my students in my master's program, one of the students shared in my online master's, her Where I'm From. And I read it, and it's one of those beautiful things, and I connected with her. She talked about clapboard cupboards and albums, and I just felt like I was back east growing up in her home. Her name was Sarah. I mean, I really connected with her, which doesn't happen every day in an online environment. So the first thing I do is where I'm from. I share with my students where I'm from, and they share with me where they're from. These are some of their quotes. I'm actually putting together a textbook of this, but this one on the left is so poignant. These are beginning writers who feel that they are not writers. Read that. It doesn't need magic to hold it up. If only we could keep it from falling apart. My husband is also an online instructor. He actually works at the site. He's an engineer in the nuclear field, but he's also an associate professor. He teaches in a different school, master's program. And I can tell you, he notices directly the difference in what we do and what he does. He's been an instructor adjunct for 25 years, and for the last 15 online. And he says, significant difference, you care. I ask him, you don't? There's really no place for caring if it's not going to. And I can't imagine, yes, he makes twice, 3 times what we do. But I want the caring, I want those connections. Because that's what life's all about. So these are some of the things. This one, one of the students, Aubrey, go back to this one. One of the students that I currently have right now, it's okay, don't worry about it. It's okay, you're good, you're good. Right there on top, she's from South Africa. She's in my class right now. A father saving everybody's life who somehow forgot to save his wife. Still, family comes first, even through the worst. And I'll tell you, when I read there where I'm from, I have tears swimming in my face. These are beautiful people, and I love them from day one. Because I get a feel for who they are and what they've overcome to be there in my classroom. Okay, now let's look at the next one there. I'm from a life of lonely, always hoping for someone that would enter my family, but never came. I'm from house, market, foreclosure, client, appraisal, offer made, offer rejected, sold. Brilliant. Really get a feel for these students. Now this one on the right, this was a student who truly believed she would fail in my class. She was a straight A student. She was brilliant. I'm from a million new starts, thinner than paper, new leaves being burnt before they can be turned over completely. Frustration, regret, and despair are constantly on my shoulders. Medication helps. I'm from the hope that maybe someday I can get it right. That's powerful. And understanding where she came from, that really gives me a place to go. When I'm working with her, when I'm doing feedback, we can be personal because I understand where she's coming from now. Okay, let's take a look at that next one. And this is showing off about Sister Bjork. This is my daughter. I had the opportunity in this very classroom to come and audit one of her classes and to sit in here day after day and watch her with her students. I went on to rate my professor and snuck behind her back, and these are a few things that they have to say about her. She's also interested in life outside of class and does things to help you. She takes her time and gets to know everyone in the class, really cares about her students. Now at this point, I just want to ask you, I moved 50 times by the time I was 15. I've eaten out of dumpsters, I've been in shelters. The missionaries filled out the paperwork and shipped me up to Rick's College. I was 17 and had no intention of ever going to college. My dad went to prison for a double murder. No intention. Education was simply not a part of my scenario. I came here, by the way, and I failed. So you know.
Hardcore.
Hardcore.
She's not kidding.
And I show it to my students. I actually failed this very class. I got a D in it. I got a D in this class. I was proud of that. Okay? But I'm still on academic probation from 1979.
Like, as of today.
Truly. You can go on and see that I'm still on academic.
Is that slide still in here?
Yeah, it's in here. It's great. It's great. But I want to ask you, out of all the teachers I had in all those years, I remember 3. 50 moves. Mrs. Coons, 3rd grade. Mrs. Panetta, 5th grade. Mr. Nitz, 7th grade. I remember just those 3. I remember them. Because they cared. They cared for a little street rat who wasn't worth caring about. They believed in me when I had no vision whatsoever in myself. Think of an instructor as someone in the gospel, in academia, who's made that difference in your life. Think about them really for a moment. It's not how much they know. It's not how savvy they are, how dramatic they can be with teaching. It's all about the connections. And that's what I was most impressed with our data that came through. Okay,
I must comment on this briefly if you don't mind. But these reviews were mostly from my on-campus courses. I taught for 2 years before being an online instructor. And quite frankly, I really struggled with the switch. Because on campus you can say, oh, hey, Julian, how you doing? Oh, hey, Christine. Wait, was it Christine? Justine. Christine. I can connect with students because you see them. They're right there. But online, you can't stalk people. Well, you can't. That's probably not ethical to do that. But you can't, if your student decides to stop participating, how do you get through? How can you make those personal connections? And so as online instructors, there's that unique barrier that we need to overcome with, and asking you guys, how do you do it? How are you most likely to contact your students? On the left, you have on campus. On the right, you have online. Right? The sample size is a little bit different, but isn't it fascinating how similar those are? Right? Which would you be most likely? Most instructors prefer personal email. Say online, you use more audio feedback, right? Or video feedback. But personal calls, I have an instructor in my group this semester who actually was a friend of mine when I was a student back here in the day. And he calls each of his students individually during the semester. Hey, this is just your instructor. I know that life is busy. I just wanted, if you have any questions, like what can I help you with? I'm just here. I'm just here. In a world of social media disconnect, having one voice who knows your name and who isn't just scrolling your feed, but says, hey, how are you doing? I want to connect with you. That is what all of these communication methods mean. And oh, look,
Hey Trish, it's you, look, that's you on the screen. Isn't that great? Yeah, Trish is a connection rock star. She should be teaching this class, but I'm so grateful that she's here to support me. But this is Trish as a wizard. If you can see the Azkaban, well, I guess is that the Hogwarts? Azkaban is the prison. She wasn't in prison, right? No, but she is dressed up as a wizard. She's doing a book review for her students. She teaches children's literature, right? And does video contact so that her students can see her talking, can see her connecting, right? Because you can send them an email, and that's good. But they want more. They want to know who you are, what you believe, what you sound like, right? Yeah, Trish.
I think because I used to teach Foundation English 201 for 301, and the fact that I get to do those videos, they get to see a quirky side of me because I usually dress up in costume. Like I did one in Dorothy.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they know I'm quirky, and then they also see the spiritual side of me in the classroom. And so I see a big difference in the fact that they trust me and they know that I'm sincere. So if they're having a situation where I say, hey, I just put your name in the temple and my whole family's praying for you this week, they know that I'm sincere and I really care about them. And I know that not everybody has that opportunity in the classes, but I do think that if you can do some kind of video, even if it's more spiritual, like under your notes from instructor, it's more spiritual outreach. Hey guys, I just wanted to tell you this what about this week, and I think that helps.
Right, right, it really does. And even if you don't have space for it in your curriculum per se, I heard someone say that they didn't have a course with discussion boards, and that blew my mind. I live in discussion boards. But if you don't have them, you have your weekly announcement. Is everyone in Island 3 in here yet? Is someone switching? You're going to love Island 3. When you switch, it has awesome stuff that you can use to connect. Is it the WYSIWYG, Joel? Is that the actual name of the tool where you add media?
I'm switching the spell, so you tell me.
Oh, okay. I keep calling it the FOSSIWIG, and that's wrong because that's a Muppet tool. And so the IT guys use baseball, not the FOSSIWIG. So I think it's the WYSIWYG. But you can add all kinds of video notes and media and YouTube and audio that you can just record on the spot. Just a 2-minute thing to say, hey, I love this assignment. This is what we can fix. So there are a lot of ways, especially in Island 3, that we can add these personal connections to our students just in stride.
Here's something fun that I do at the beginning of every semester. I get all my students' birthdays and I write those in small right next to all of their names. So I know when the birthdays are coming. And so we start, usually there's one within the first couple of weeks of class, and we sing happy birthday and it has to be off key. So it's happy birthday to you, take it. You know, and everyone's joining in. You can do, Aubrey, I love, she actually sends that right there on her student's birthday.
I send them cake.
She sends them cake, a do-it-yourself edition. You can tell she's heard the mission, right? Here's your picture, happy birthday. Okay, but what are some things right now, just off the top of your head, that you do? That we're gonna go through some of the things that were sent in to us on the survey. But Trish, she does the videos. She dresses up in costume. We can relate with that. She cares. What are some things that you do that you have felt, or that you've seen other instructors do,
Or that you'd like to do.
or that you'd like to do to connect with your students? Yeah, right.
One thing I do is show a sense of humor as you're writing your, I'm still doing notes for instructor, but as you write your announcements, let your sense of humor or your fun nature come out so that they can see that it doesn't have to be, we're learning about this and that's it. And then I also have one instructor in my group that at the bottom, when she says, love Sister Burgesson, she always puts a picture of herself with a kid, her dad, her husband, and it's always her doing something silly or with her favorite cup. Such a great, I love it.
Great. What was your name?
I'm Celeste.
Celeste.
Just going along with that, when I first started recording videos for my notes from instructor, I would re-record them like 20 times to get it exactly perfect.
Yeah.
And finally I realized the little tangents and the little mistakes I was making just made me human. If I was in front of a class, I would restart. You just keep going. And so it made my life so much easier to quickly do a quick video. It didn't take too much time, and it helped the students realize I'm a real person, not somebody reading something to them.
Right, right. I love that you said real.
I'm a business guy, so I didn't attend Relief Society and do all these very creative things.
Nobody's perfect.
A simple thing I learned early on, I just sent a note to a student, and I just said, hey, how are things going? I got this. And he said back this long email, I said, it's been a tough week, and boy, I appreciate you reaching out. I didn't think I was doing a whole lot, but I found just the simple things, like you say, they know that you care, or it hits them at a certain day where they're struggling through something, and it makes a difference, and you don't think you're going to, but it really does. Sometimes I'll send out scriptures or quotes, and sometimes I'll get an email back, boy, this hit me today, it's really helpful today to me because of this. So you can do some real simple things too. But again, I like I-Learn3 and the ease of audio feedback and video feedback and those types of things. And if you haven't used Screenomatic, that'll let you do it for 15 minutes. And I've used that a lot this semester. I got it from Brad Bartson, I think, or someone gave me that idea. And Screenomatic is very, very simple to do. You can make a 15-minute video feeding either with the screen capture and yourself, really simple. So Screenomatic.
Screencast-o-matic.
But video.byu-idaho is the same thing,
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
but saved in BYU.
Yeah, because in I-Learn3, we've got like 60 seconds or 80 seconds, and I'm like, okay, I really love this, I really love that.
And those videos, can you add those in I-Learn3?
Yes.
Wonderful.
But
Thank
if you are using, this is a quick plug, if you are using screencast software, do not use Jing. I-Learn3 does not like Jing. It will make, it's very feisty, don't do that. Screencast-o-matic or the video feature. Yeah.
One thing that I do, that what I've been doing is to really pray for guidance on how to help the students. Because it's hard, it's really against my nature to want to share the gospel with them when I'm emailing them about a problem. I know that sounds weird, but it's just kind of not natural. I mean, everyone's like, oh, no, talk about religion in school, like, don't combine them. But especially with Catholic students, a lot of them are less active. And so to tell them, you can do this. The Savior can help you. Bear your testimony to them. And not only do you share a spiritual message with them, but my testimony has also strengthened because I get to bear it every time I interact with my students. And so I think that's really key because you become real and you can say, I've been there. I know what it's like to struggle with this. And this is what I did. I prayed for help, and sharing the spiritual experience really has connected me with a lot of my students in another way.
And then our spiritual lives are not separate from our academic ones. You can use the atonement to complete your research paper. In fact, you probably should if you're not. Like, that's do that. We can and we should, and our students need that boost, right? That's all. Okay, there we go.
One of the instructors I worked with at the beginning of the semester posts a short video, and it's called My Thoughts on Grades. And he just basically says, the grade you get is not who you are. And he just kind of bears his testimony about the importance of education, but also your self-worth, regardless of how you can do it.
Is that a failure for that area? That's awesome. That's perfect. That's awesome.
Someone else had? Okay, I read this yesterday. I'm going to read it again because it just makes me be just like such a crap dad. This is from a student online Facebook. There's online support page. A shout out to my Art 160 instructor. Her spiritual thought this week was so inspired. It's times like this, and I'm so grateful to be getting my education at BYU-Idaho. A student responds to her. I had two really neat experiences with instructors who reached out at times that only the Lord could have known that I needed the words that they shared. Love-inspired instructors. And that's what we're talking about here.
That really good comment to this. I actually started to get into that content. You know how sometimes we get segued over there. I was getting more into my content than my students one semester. So I found myself on my knees and praying and repenting and saying, help me get back on track. Help me know this week what to say, what to do in class. It's been probably 3 or 4 weeks for the semester. We were covering a lot of material. It was great. They were learning. At the end of that class, as they walked out the door and I had the chance to hug them and shake their hands, 2 students separately, Sister Kirkham, thank you so much. What you said today was an answer to my prayer. on that one day. And that was, for me, was the power of prayer for students. I have a student who's currently struggling. He just wrote to me and I said, you started out strong, what's going on, Aubrey? He talked to me, he's in the rodeo, got that from where I'm from. Last night, my scripture study, this talk, get a pen, mark this for Brady. And he's getting it today. He's getting it because the Lord knows him and he wants him to have that message. I love that this gentleman here was in tune as well. And all of us, we have that opportunity and we get off track. That's okay, we fail forward. We learn from it and we get back on track. These are a few of the ideas that you've been looking at while we've been having this discussion. And we'll post that again at the end for you to look at. Here's something that Brother Barron, Ross Barron here on campus, one of the most fantastic instructors I've ever had anywhere. And I tell all my students, if you miss a class with Ross Barron, your life is incomplete. Sign up, take a class from him. But he did this in New Testament. Do you remember that? We took that class together. And so this is one of my students' discussion posts. Matter of fact, that's this semester. And so what he would do is he'd say, okay, Amy, look at you. And he'd highlight positive points in the discussion post. And I make a point of doing that in every class. Here's a comment from a student from last semester. I waited all semester for you to highlight my post. Finally, you did it. And I actually cheat and put a little check mark next to the students' names as I highlight them to make sure that I'm finding something among all my students and not just going with the ones who raise their hand most or who speak more on the boards.
As a quick plug for online learning, the way you could apply this, because our courses are somewhat more structured, right, than on-campus adjuncts. So in your announcements every week, you could say, hey, shout out to Haley, great job on your assignment. Here's a quote from it. Or in your questions and conversations board, you could, this might sound like Greek to you, but remember it for later. In your questions and conversations board, you can start an embedded thread and say, hey, this is this week's spotlight, week 1 spotlight. Good for you, look at how you did on this assignment. The traffic will, that's also a double whammy because the traffic will increase to that board, so if they have questions, they know where to post them, right? So there are lots of ways that you can apply this kind of feedback, even in an online environment.
And right here, the suggestion for improvement, I can't stress this enough. This is an actual feedback I gave to a student on his first rhetoric paper. I went through and you can see in the parentheses included parts from his paper and what I noticed. And he's got great critical thinking, strong thesis. And then I give him a suggestion for improvement. And you can see I broke my rule. There's actually 2 suggestions there. Okay? When I get really excited, I might give 2. One for formatting and one for analysis and structure and content. Okay? And then what I ask them to do, in your next paper, be sure to work on that, and I go in and make sure that they did work. And they implement it. And if you do that for 13 weeks is what we have here. We have 14. So if you do that every week, imagine all those strengths. Precept upon precept, right? And what they're gaining then. Okay, so this is actually a picture of my granddaughter. This is Aubrey's daughter. And Adelaide, you can all say ooh and ah. Oh, thank you. And I start every semester with this picture. And I tell them about the day sweet Adelaide learned to walk. She's now 2.5. And I tell them, how many of you have seen a child learn to walk? You know how they do the wobbly leg thing and they've got that saggy diaper thing going and they're holding on. And this was her day. And she fell. And I said, you know what? She will never amount to anything. If she doesn't pick up the pace, she's not going to make the cut. This world has a lot to take her down with. And if she doesn't, it's not going to happen. I once had a Tongan student in the back, 6-foot tall guy, fly out of his chair and he goes, man, that's messed up. I said, yes. And I didn't actually say that. And why didn't I actually say that? And at what age does it become okay to say that? It's never okay to say that. The Lord believes in eternal progression. Thank heavens for that. Thank heavens for that. And I know each of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, next slide here.
As far as, I just wanted to comment real quick. With our students, and this is a perfect way, this is moving on to our fail forward. So we've covered the picture imperfect. It's not a perfect picture, right? Just be you. We followed that. What was the middle one? got so excited I was listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Point out the positive, right, with a suggestion for feedback, and then we are here to fail forward because our students fail occasionally. You have some students who are dragged under the bus and they just don't submit, they don't answer emails, they might not participate, or you have the ones, the half-hearteds, where they come in every 2 weeks and go, and complete 2 or 3 assignments and then die. Hopefully not die literally. I mean, like, disappear from the online environment. And we don't know what they're going through in their lives. In fact, I was just talking with a counselor who works in the online student support for international students. And because of scholarship and citizen requirements, they have to keep a certain amount of credits. So they are trying and trying to keep up with as many classes as they can, but it's better for them to fail a class than to not meet requirements and get deported or have to pay a really high fee. So they may be making the decision they have to make to fail your class in order to stay in their education. I had never even considered that before. So when our students are failing, they're like Adelaide learning to walk. It might not be their forte subject. I am not a math professor for us. Like, we took that class together and we supported each other and cried every day on the way home. That is not our thing. So what if your student is taking your class and it's just not their thing? Do they feel burdened by their failures and their shortcomings? Do they feel that the gospel of Jesus Christ, that it doesn't really apply to me? I'm just a terrible student. This academic thing is just not for me. I just don't have a future. It's very real for students to feel that way. And that's why my last quote on there, we must not only speak the truth, but speak the truth with love. That's from Meek and Lowly by Neil A. Maxwell, an incredible book if you've ever read it. But we have to tell our students, you know, you might be failing now, like that instructor who sent that video out. You are not your grades. This class is not the end all of your academic experience. You know, if you're not doing well, I'm not gonna lie and sugarcoat it and say, you know, everyone's special, and just because you're having a hard time, no, you're failing the class, and I'm so sorry, but you are not a failure. And there's a big difference, Trish.
One thing I've implemented this semester, honestly going wrong, is I use a message every time I speak with the students. They say, smile, breathe, and know that I love you. And I do that because of this. Or failure or actual failure. And I want them to know that there's so much more to me than whatever they do in my class.
I had a student last semester who showed up the first 2 or 3 weeks of class, and then I didn't see her until 2 weeks before the end of class. Come to find out, her mother had stage 4 cancer and had passed away. She was going between here and Ohio. She called me and said, Sister Kirkham, can I talk with you? I said, just come to class. She said, I don't want the students to see me. I said, come out in the hall, just flag me so I know. I'll turn it over to my TA. I went out there and I sat down and I said, how are you doing? And I held her hand. I said, I'm so sorry for your loss. Oh, I failed too when I first came to this university, and I didn't have a reason to have these pictures. And she said, what can I do to pass your class? And I said, you know, it's not going to happen this semester, but I want you to fail forward. And I'm counting on seeing you in my class next semester. And she's in my class this semester. She has an A-. Very helpful. Fail forward. Come back. Try again. Here's my academic probation right here. This is wonderful.
This semester.
This semester. Yeah, that's this semester. And a couple other teachers have said, you know, Paulette, you can get that taken off. And I said, oh, it's almost a source of pride at this point. Just let me have it. I'm on the cusp of senility. I remember a few things, and this is really important to me. And my students just love that I failed the class I'm teaching. So I really get it. I get where they're coming from, and they like that. Okay, so some ways that you can handle failing forward students. I actually send this out. Okay, when they miss an assignment, I send the JPEG out to them. I just say, you know, I know life happens. Short of turning the assignment in for you or waiving it for a capricious reason, what can I do to help you? Because I got you. What can I do to help? Okay, the second one, that's actually for the student who's getting the enzyme this semester. Start writing no matter what. It's personalized. He is into rodeo. He loves Western things. That's Louis L'Amour. He loves Louis L'Amour novels. So personalize it. And then this is one that Aubrey's used that she sends out for encouragement to students. Just JPEG, copy paste, right?
For a plug for digital technology, if any of you use Pinterest, it has a kind of bad rap, unfortunately, but I have a classmates board where I just, when I see something encouraging, I say, man, that's great. Man, that's great. And then when I need something for a student, I can just go to that board and not get buried in the, oh, look, cupcakes, right? I can go right to that board and say, okay, I need something along this line. This is great. Bam. And I can send it to them straight up.
You want to share that?
Yeah, and follow me on Pinterest. Find Aubrey Bjork, and I will send you, if you want, I'll get a sheet and I'll email you all the link. I'll pass that around in a bit.
So in summary, something that we can do with our students, they already have a lot of weight on their shoulders. You've all felt it in the culture of the church, that we feel like we need to be perfect today. It's false doctrine. It's another one of the adversaries' counterparts. But we do feel the weight of that belief. Every arrow that flies feels the pull of the earth. And our students feel that as well. So that's a hump that we need to overcome when we're working with them.
This is one of my favorite quotes that I also send out to my students whenever they miss an assignment. You can kind of tell when they're really feeling it, when they feel badly about missing an assignment, and I send this out. So you know what? Lorenzo's no. Do not expect to become perfect at once. If you do, you will be disappointed. Be better today than you were yesterday, and be better tomorrow than you are today. Our family has had some really hard stuff in the last couple of years, and my brother and I both struggle with anxiety and depression. And sometimes, my being better is getting out of bed. It is getting up, it is showing up. And our students are dealing with these real trials. Even if they're just living a normal life. I love President Faust's quote when he said, if you imagine that someone is going through something intense, 90% of the time you're going to be right. Even if it's anxiety, depression, isolation, loneliness. My mom had a new sweet little new convert from Mexico in her class. And she does one-on-one midterm interviews. And in the interview, he said, Sister Kirkham, I have dropped every other class but this. I have to tell you what happened in his midterm. He'd only been a member for 3 months. I said, I know what that feels like. The missionaries filled out the paperwork and said, we got to get you out of the hood. And they sent me to Iceland. That's what 1979. That's here. Yes.
That's here. And when we were meeting, and he just said, it's just struggle, and we're my roommates, and I had a chance one-on-one, and you have that opportunity, video feeds or emails, to say, Antonio, the one thing that I can say that I have never regretted in my life has been the decision to follow Jesus Christ. And my motto is, I'm so glad I didn't quit. Every time it was so hard, I'm so glad I didn't quit. You will never regret your decision to stay close to the Savior. And that young man, he's still going strong. I'm just so grateful for him.
I happened to be here that semester out visiting. So this is our summary. If you want to look back over everything we've gone over, we are so grateful for your participation and hope that as you listen to the Spirit, you will know what to do in your class. Don't feel overwhelmed by all of the suggestions, all of the things that you're hearing about at this conference. This is a pool of resources. Pick and choose what will most benefit your students. And I hope humbly that something here will be applicable.
In closing for me, I just want to point out that second one on the right. I love that. Keep track of personal information. On the introduction boards, when they introduce themselves, next to their birthdays on my rolls, I have like 3 or 4 little hand scratches for every student. So in the middle of the discourse, I can say, it's just like Josh on the swim team. I mean, he relates to this. Josh, what's it like? And he's in the game and he's contributing in the class. And the same thing online. It's just like Mary Ann when that wedding fell through last year. She gets it. Mary Ann, what would you contribute to the class right now? Something that would help us all. So those personal details. I love that one of you that submitted this, you actually keep track of it in a spreadsheet. I just admire that. I do chicken scratch. But kudos to you. What a great way to involve those students. And once again, for closing, I just want to tell you, just this little introduction to online. I took my master's online. I've never taught online. Teaching for me is the closest thing to parenthood that I've ever had. Chaos, you don't see them all right. But you will see them, and they do come. And on those days when you question if you're making a difference, when those voices come to me, why am I doing this? No, don't even speak to me. Because I know who's sailing the ship, and I know where it's going to end up. And I will be grateful to be part of it. We pray that each of you will feel the greatness of your callings, because they are callings. All of us have been saved for this time. May we rise, and we will do it in His Spirit, in His name, glorifying Him always. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
If anyone would like